Ravi Zacharias was a renowned Christian apologist and speaker who dedicated his life to defending the Christian faith through intellectual discourse and philosophical reasoning. Born in India in 1946, he later became a well-known international figure, addressing audiences around the world on topics related to theology, philosophy, and the Christian worldview. Zacharias founded the Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, an organization focused on apologetics and evangelism. Throughout his career, he engaged with diverse audiences, including university students, intellectuals, and religious leaders, presenting a thoughtful and reasoned defense for Christianity. Zacharias passed away in May 2020, leaving behind a legacy of intellectual contributions to Christian apologetics. T.B. Joshua, whose full name is Temi Tope Balogun Joshua, was a Nigerian charismatic pastor, televangelist, and founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, SCOAN. He gained international recognition for his televised healing services, prophecies, and miracles. T.B. Joshua was known for his controversial and unorthodox methods of faith healing, deliverance, and spiritual teachings. He passed away in June 2021, leaving behind a legacy of a prominent figure in the Nigerian Christian community with a global following. So what do or did they have in common? That they were in their lifetime prominent men in Christendom. They both have been cancelled, okay, maybe just by me, due to the rise of allegations of sexual misconduct post-mortem. However, I just want to clarify that these reports and court filings do show that these allegations and concerns are being reported even before they were deceased. Let's have a look. The Ravi Zacharias sexual misconduct case has been a significant and troubling development in recent times. Ravi Zacharias faced allegations of sexual misconduct. The accusation surfaced posthumously, which means after he died, as Zacharias passed away in May 2020. Initial court filings and reports revealed that in August 2020, a woman named Lorianne Thompson filed a lawsuit against Ravi Zacharias and RZM, accusing him of engaging in an online sexual relationship with her. The lawsuit alleged that Zacharias exploited his position of spiritual authority to manipulate and control Thompson. The court documents also claimed that Zacharias had solicited explicit photographs from Thompson and used them to coerce her into silence. Following these allegations, other victims came forward, prompting a more intense and extensive investigation into Ravi Zacharias' conduct. The internal investigation by RZM confirmed the credibility of the allegations, revealing that Zacharias had engaged in sexual misconduct and abuse of power. The findings were deeply disturbing as they contradicted the moral values that Zacharias had espoused in his public life. As a result, RZM publicly apologized for the misconduct and initiated measures to address the systemic failures within the organization that allowed such behavior to persist. The revelations led to a re-evaluation of Ravi Zacharias' legacy, tarnishing the reputation of a once highly respected figure in Christian apologetics. It is essential to note that this case has had a profound impact on the broader Christian community, raising questions about accountability, transparency, and the protection of victims within religious organizations. The fallout from the Ravi Zacharias sexual misconduct case continues to unfold, emphasizing the importance of addressing such allegations promptly and impartially to ensure justice and prevent future abuses of power. T.B. Joshua was accused, among other things, of abusing women sexually and other forms of abuse, which included anger beatings, verbal coercion, as they were disciples at his church. This is something that has been reported in the now viral documentary on BBC that already opened up 2024. This is something of great concern because of one of two things. The allegations prove that the abuse happened in a systemic way that really had victims think they were the only ones going through threats, and one of the BBC reports they have shown evidence of brainwashing in terms of what was being taught and how these things were being run and unfolding at the Scoran residence where all these disciples stayed. They were manipulated as well into belief what he was doing to them was a way of them to be forgiven or something of the similar nature. This is something that is disturbing because as a young person or as people who really tend to fall out of the Christian faith or people who experience these things in Christianity, they're always taught that you have to read the Bible for yourself. Like you cannot do that if you're being manipulated and brainwashed. And even if you do read the Bible, because of how you see the life that you are living in really just does not help a lot at the moment, because you're also taught to read the Bible through a specific lens. So maybe it doesn't always work. So maybe don't blame victims. But anyway, I used to work in a police department before and worked with rape victims and sexual assault victims. And I know for sure there's something that did happen and this could happen. And let's get into the story of how things like this are even capable of happening in the first place. If you consider the following series, The Keepers, on Netflix, you will realize that it's possible for churches to get away with these types of crimes. Let's go. The Keepers is a gripping Netflix documentary series that delves into the unresolved murder of Sister Kathy Sesnick, a Catholic nun and high school teacher in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. The show unfolds over 7 episodes, combining investigative journalism with survivor accounts to uncover a web of sexual abuse, corruption, and conspiracy within the Catholic Church. The narrative primarily follows 2 former students of Sister Kathy, Gemma Hoskins and Abby Schwab, as they embark on a quest for truth decades after her tragic death in 1969. The series exposes a disturbing pattern of sexual abuse perpetrated by Father Joseph Maskell, chaplain at Archbishop Kino High School where Sister Kathy taught. Maskell's alleged abuse and the subsequent cover-up by the church became and becomes central themes, revealing the extent of systemic abuse and its impact on the lives of survivors. The Keepers skillfully weaves together interviews, archival footage, and dramatic reenactments to create a compelling and emotionally charged narrative. The storytelling is meticulous, gradually unveiling layers of corruption and complicity. The survivors' courage in sharing their experiences adds a powerful human element to the series, creating a sense of empathy and urgency for justice. The documentary not only sheds light on the personal stories of the survivors, but also addresses broader issues of institutional abuse, manipulation, and the struggle for accountability. It highlights the challenges faced by those seeking justice and the emotional toll of confronting traumatic memories. Common opinions in the comment sections of specifically the TB Joshua documentary are, if you were really being abused as a white woman from the UK, why did you not talk about it when it just happened? And for that, refer to The Keepers. In The Keepers and other several cases of abuses of this nature, we see that if you report it, you do get into trouble. And if you don't report it, it's because you were being threatened about talking about these challenges or this type of abuse that you're going to. And this does not apply to only those people, but also remember the brainwashing at a religious level is a different place because of the brainwashing, and also because this was like in the 2000s. You couldn't just Google things and you found out information. You couldn't just do a TikTok live. You couldn't do an Instagram live to save your life and cry for help. You just were here because you thought this is what God wanted you to be, but you could not do anything else beyond that until you've had enough, which is like the thing that describes and explains the running away stories. And there are people that are saying, why did you wait until they died? Well, this is an easy one to answer. And if you go back to the reports, they will show you that these reports and concerns and allegations were coming up while these men were alive. But because they are alive and they're getting these letters with threats, does not provide a conducive environment for you to defend yourself. So these people were defending themselves with lawyers, their connections to law enforcement officers, and there's a bunch of stuff. So that is why there's a logical explanation for why they were not convicted while they were alive, because they were able to fight for themselves. And fighting for yourself is not always a good thing. It just shows that you're able to cover up. Okay, moving along. And the threads that do not provide a conducive environment to defend yourself and just to create an opportunity to fight back. So it was possible for them to conceal evidence, and they could refer to how Maskell at the same time was accused of burying physical evidence and was later destroyed, and it was exhumed the graveyard, blah, blah, blah. So basically, when you are still alive, you can defend yourself, and you are in that position to, because you are not committing these crimes as singularly. So also people ask the question, why didn't you talk? Why are you trying to gain? What are you trying to do? Ma'am, we do not know. In the words of Cat Williams, I do not know why people lie. I do not know why lies lie. But as a person who believes that these people are not lying, yeah, I have to say this. I have nothing to gain. They have something to gain, which is the truth. For me, to consider religious places, let's think about the following. People have nothing to gain from the story, essentially, in terms of money, whatever. And as much as there are financial reparations, they really cannot give you back the life you lost through the trauma. And secondly, this expose gives us, leads us to a place where we're like, they really do deserve the truth, though. That's one thing that they do get to gain. Okay, when we think about religious spaces, let's think about the following. Johan Galtung, a Norwegian sociologist and peace studies scholar, has contributed significantly to the field of conflict resolution and peace studies. While he may not have a specific focus on abuse, his work often emphasizes understanding and addressing the root causes of conflict and violence. Galtung's concept of structural violence highlights the idea that societal structures and institutions can contribute to systemic harm and inequality. In the context of abuse, Galtung might argue that addressing not only the individual instances of abuse, but also the underlying structural factors that contribute to such behavior is essential. This could involve examining power imbalances, societal norms, and institutional practices that perpetuate abusive dynamics. Galtung's holistic approach to conflict resolution encourages addressing the root causes to create lasting and transformative change. Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory focuses on the various environmental systems that influence an individual's development. The theory includes the chronosystem, the macrosystem, exosystem, mesosystem, and microsystem. While it provides a framework for understanding human development, it doesn't specifically address the flourishing potential of sexual abuse and assault in our world. However, considering Johann's theories, we can say that the complexities of abuse can be equitable to something that can be represented in the concentric layers of the theory. Issues related to SA and assault are complex and multifaceted, involving factors such as societal norms, cultural influences, legal frameworks, and individual behaviors. Understanding and addressing these issues requires a comprehensive approach that considers various social, cultural, and systemic factors. Let me explain what I mean about merging Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems and Johan Galtung's structural violence thing. When we talk about how we can contribute to the reality of these things happening, it's just removing the individual perpetrator from the situation and focusing on what happened, how it happened, and forget about the why. Focusing on what happened helps us to see that this individual acted on something that most people would have the urge of. Most people, when they grow older, they do have sexual desires or whatever, something like that, but they know that because of the context of their social, cultural levels, there are ways to manifest that. You get married, you stick to one partner. If you're in a polygamous culture, you still have to get married to your partners and then go on with your polygamy or whatever. But it does not then say we should essay, we should do it unlawfully whatsoever. But because, and when we go out of these systems, whatever, children are being taught in the micro system, which is your family, and then how to live your life, and then how to live your life in your neighborhood and whatever. But because not everyone is equal in the view of society in those things, we always espouse a certain responsibility to children that you are responsible for yourself. If somebody touches you, you are the problem. But we never assign the blame onto the grown-up who has touched the child inappropriately. And of course, there's so many ways to describe concentric layers when we talk about the influence of this into essay. But also it just shows that things start in small scale. And if you are a regular person in the micro system who is being who is a victim of a person who has some kind of power in the chrono system or something in the macro system, so this person has political influence, they have connections beyond you, I think it does show that they could use those systems to gain notoriety, nobility, and status to a point where if push came to shove and you both were saying something, it's my word against yours, and also who are we going to believe? We're always going to believe the older person. And also, even if we know that they did it, we're going to protect this guy because of cognitive dissonance and just denial that he's our friend, he was our friend, we must die for him, we have to do everything in our powers, you know. Protecting him helps protect ourselves too, because if he's thrown under the bus, it's going to expose everybody. So there's a reason these things are systemic. There's no accident. The reason why bad people get away with trafficking, bad people get away with all these things, is because they have so much influence at various levels of society. When you are in the micro system and the meso system, you have barely any types of influence. The only reason people in microsystems and mesosystems and ectosystems can have power over people in the macro system and the chrono system is if they band together and they rally together and they work together to fight any kinds of inequality that are being subjected to. But in this explanation, I know that these theories in themselves, what Johan Galtung spoke for and what Brown van Binne's ecological systems theory focuses on, is not specifically to abuse. It's just my application of the understanding of these subjects and these theories to explain how the institutionalization of abuse can occur. It's something that is quite disturbing because, unfortunately, this is not the last time we're going to hear about it. Ravi Zacharias was not the last person to do it, wasn't the first person either. TB Joshua was not the first person to get away with it, and he's not the only person getting away with it, and wasn't the last person to get away with it. And it's something that we need to ask ourselves as people: who do we assign and give power to? And also, when we think about who do we give power to, why do we think we don't have the power? Because we have power too to change the lives around us. That is all that I had brought to you today, and talking about what did Ravi Zacharias and TB Joshua have in common. And I hope this lesson thing will make you think. Please be kind in the comments. Bye guys, see you next time.